Riot Games' flagship title, League of Legends, has been known to have very few hacking instances inside the game. Even in the modern era, you'll rarely find a hacker in one of your games. But what about outside of the game? Well, aside from the recent one in 2023, that actually wasn't the first big data breach for Riot. Riot Games suffered one of the biggest data breaches in gaming history in 2012, with over 24.5 million accounts compromised, according to the actual hacking source, with hackers knowing email addresses, account names, passwords, and even real first and last names. This is the story of the self-proclaimed god hacker, Jason, that ended up humiliating Riot. In an investigative story published by Richard Lewis from Dotesports in 2014, which I will mostly draw from in this video, so thanks to him, and it will also be in the show notes below. Although if you've read that story, stick around because I personally dug further into this and found some pretty funny stuff and also interesting tidbits. But Richard Lewis revealed that a hacker from Australia hacked Riot Games' European servers in August 2011 and got access to passwords and info of more than 120,000 accounts. But Riot would only request that players should change their password, a warning that they gave in September of 2012, a year after the data breach had already even happened. Riot also got hacked back in 2012 as well, which is why they even noticed the hack from 2011. So now that brings their total server compromises to 2 times. The hacker, who went by the pseudonym Jason, brute forced attacks North American Riot servers in 2012, and Riot immediately notified their employees to change their passwords, except one lazy employee didn't. This allowed Jason to leave a back door and just let account information pile up in the database so that he could then steal at a later date, which is exactly what happened, as he ended up with information on 24.5 million accounts. Jason then let his presence be known to the world in August of 2013 when he hacked the famous streamer Phantom Lord's account. The infamous streamer who used to regularly have 5,000 plus viewers daily on Twitch. When he was streaming League of Legends, suddenly his account was instantly transferred to Brazil. As if to personify his morals into a name, Jason took over an unused account named Devil. He caused absolute havoc with his newfound handle as he went onto the League of Legends message boards and started to dox players' email addresses. To add even more spice to the mix, he would end up changing players' posts to say vulgar things like, quote, "Does anyone want to shove a large fat cock in my mouth so I can suck it off till you finish all over my face? I am a sensitive bitch and want as many dicks as possible." End quote. Boy, that's probably gonna get clipped and shipped. Or, quote, "Gem, will you marry me? Heart emoji." And Gem, as a side tangent, I guess Gem was some girl on the League of Legends forums that he was kind of enamored in at some extent. You could find this in various posts and various things in his history. Another user on the League of Legends forums ended up collecting several posts about how users were experiencing their posts being edited and emails being doxed. One rioter, Riot Wenceslaus, assured users, "I can confirm that this was just a troll put together by someone who managed to crack some old accounts. There is no leak or breach. Put the pitchforks away." Riot Odnumde also assured players, "We've drawn a conclusion. The user Jason has been the subject of an ongoing investigation. We have found him or her to have been brute forcing accounts at very high speeds. There has not been any type of data leak nor breach. Judging by the method being used to brute force, speeds of up to 40,000 attempts per hour have been observed. This method has since been patched. One user exclaimed, "Once again, I'd like to know how Jason was able to obtain my email address." Raya Adnumde replied, "I can assure you there has never been any type of data leak or breach that would give them access to such information. It is however possible that a LoL fan site could get hacked and your email could be found from any database taken from an instance of that, which is quite a common occurrence." As you can see, all of this reads like some glorification of hacker culture. The funny part about all of this, Jason had hacked those Riot accounts and posted those messages as the rioters. Jason would then go on to steal a user's account by the name of GOP Gangster, reads the Dotesports article. Quote, "I didn't believe him until my account was taken," GOP Gangster wrote. He knew he was screwed, he said, when his friend asked him why he left his ranked team. His account then wrote, "I am God, Jason," and transferred him to Riot's Oceania server. Now, to Jason, there was never a joke that really could be taken too far. So in spirit of that, he hacked the co-founder of Riot Games, Mark Merrill's Twitter account. With the takeover, he announced to the world, "Well, I think this would be a good time to show off Riot's card game. Who wants to see pictures? 50 retweets for pictures, signed Jason, parentheses, God." And so he did just that. He leaked Riot Games' card game called League of Legends Supremacy. Quite actually an apt name if you ask me, given the God complex from Riot themselves. Also ironic that they got hacked by God too, I guess. You know, maybe polytheism was right after all. So here are some cool screenshots I managed to get because, well, let's face it, the internet never forgets, but Google surely does. Sounds like they talked to their buddy Google to get some of these images taken off, but there are other ways to find this, right? So now that we can reflect on history a bit here with hindsight, Riot seemed to have been working on a card game since 2013, which means they've been toying with the idea of Legends of Runeterra for about 7 years, which makes sense considering Hearthstone was already in beta since early 2013. Now I think we just need to convince Blizzard to make a Magma Chamber game. Mark Merrill then confirmed, yes, his Twitter account was indeed hacked. Anyways, so in the picture before of League of Legends Supremacy that I just showed you, you can see he filled in one of the text fields with King Jason, hashtag owned and armed, parentheses, League trades. I dug into this because it's clearly a message. Now, Jason didn't do this just for the lulz. In May of 2013, he began selling EU accounts which had very rare skins on them on the famous site Elite PvPers under the username I Own League of Legends. I think that hits the nail on the head quite aptly, where he would accept Bitcoin as payment through his Skype account called League Trades. He wasn't a one-man army though, as he had one partner named Fail whom he also had selling accounts. This may also allude to the fact that stated in the Dotesports article, he said that he didn't have access to the back door anymore because his own partner got sloppy, and that might refer to this guy named Fail. He even stated also too, to corroborate that statement, that he couldn't get anyone's skins newer than 2012, meaning that he no longer had access to Riot's database to steal more accounts. By the way, this website, Elite PvPers, still exists today, and you can buy scripts and accounts, and it's kind of like a message board for all kinds of hackers and scammers, but more on that in another video. And I'm sure Riot are already aware of this site, but if not, hello Riot, you're welcome. Now, you may be wondering, how did Mark Merrill's Twitter account get hacked when only the Riot server accounts were hacked? This guy, he's like some super hacker? No, as some of you probably guessed, Tryndamere used an old password for his Twitter account, which Jason got from his original hack on the Riot servers. Sure, maybe Tryndamere changed his League of Legends account password, but he still kept the same password on his Twitter account, therefore allowing access to that. Now, these passwords aren't simple to get. It's not like Riot has a notepad text file that stores all the passwords. Companies store passwords in what is called a hash table. So my friend is a cybersecurity engineer, so I gleaned a little bit off of him about this subject. And along with a couple YouTube videos and articles, I think I get the gist of cracking passwords, but bear with me if I get something wrong here and have this make no sense, like the scene out of Swordfish. God, I love that movie, especially Halle Berry. So a hash table is a table which converts the string from a password into an unintelligible string of seemingly random characters. So whenever you log in, a password is sent to the server, it gets converted to a hash, Riot takes that hash and looks for the exact same hash in the database. This means Riot actually never stores your password, they only store your hash. That's also why companies can't send you your password when you click the "Forgot My Password" link. They just disassociate that hash with your username and have you create a new password, which therefore then creates a new hash. Now, the problem is, just hashing means that someone that uses the same password as another user would also use the same hash. This allows anyone with a hacking tool in what is known as a rainbow table, which is essentially a huge database containing billions of common phrased passwords that are already converted into their hashes to then find common password phrases. Now, to take a security step further, there's something called a salt, which can be applied to a hash. Kind of like hash browns with salt, right? Salting is an extra security step which adds unique characters up to 32 as the hash is sent to the server so that the hash is completely unique because it contains a salt that is unique. This therefore prevents players from having the same hash code even if they use the same password like password123. Now, the problem is, since Jason got access to the hash table, which also contains the salt, he could download it and attempt to crack these hashes offline even if they're salted. This means he was able to successfully recover all passwords without having to do it online and possibly trigger a lockout or alert from Riot. Remember, Riot said players with easily guessable passwords are vulnerable to account theft. That's because the rainbow table is a pre-computed algorithm that just goes through a list of common password phrases like password123 to crack your password hash. They then crack the salt portion, which is just appended or prefixed to the hash. Now, I know all of this sounds a little complicated, especially since I probably didn't explain it properly, but the point is, Riot done goofed. Anyways, now that we've gone over some cryptography 101 and how to crack passwords, let's get back to Jason. So in November of 2013, Australian police raid the house of Jason, otherwise known as Shane Duffy, and seize his computer equipment. Apparently, he did all of this on a laptop. Talk about a budget build. But while on bail, he created a website called lollipop.com. Get it? Lollipop? In February of 2014. Users could sign up and would receive 10 free credits, which could be used to find IP addresses of North American players and DDoS them. Problem is, it simply checked the request of whatever summoner ID was entered and then compared it with his database of compromised accounts, which also had IP address info, and then it sends a DDoS attack to that target. I say this because several users reported it didn't work the majority of the time. That's because those accounts they checked probably were created after 2012, hence why he didn't have the IP information. Jason was then arrested once more for the final time because of this website incident as well. Police confiscated $110,000 in Bitcoin, which is now worth a staggering $4.1 million as of this video, January 2023. He was faced with 9 charges related to hacking, including 4 counts of fraud. So there you have it. This is the time Riot Games got absolutely pwned for multiple years and is still considered the biggest user data breach in the history of Riot Games. Once again, I'd like to thank Richard Lewis for his report on this original article back in 2014, and also courtesy for letting me use his article as the base for this entire video. Thank you very much.